Greetings, Tom Bartlett here. I want to give those of you that are teaching, facilitating the Invest course some information and a brief training on how to do this, since the material will be a little different, well, quite a bit different from the 301 material that we've taught in the past. And so this is one of our values in the Invest course. And so hopefully you can take out your teacher's guide. We'll walk through it very briefly so you have an opportunity to be familiar with it. I will say right up front, you should take the surveys. The personality survey is different than we've used in the past, and also the spiritual gift survey and the abilities sections, and do those so you're familiar with those as a facilitator before you begin to teach that in the course. In the table of contents, obviously there's an introduction section, and then we've broken the material into 3 different investments. God's investment in you, and this is where most of those surveys will come in, and the strengths and the passions and spiritual gifts and so forth. And so that's a great section. Then the next, your investment in others, where we're going to hit life groups and ministry and how God has brought that to us as opportunities to serve. And then finally, the third area is your investment in God's work. And we'll talk about tithing, gifts and offerings, and then talk about our mission, planning 100 campuses in the next season of ministry before High Rock. And then there'll be a course reflection page where we want people to really fill that out before they leave the class, so that they can write down their immediate thoughts, getting direction for ministry, and figuring out exactly kind of pulling together what they learned in the class. So in the introduction, kind of a standard for the course, walk them through. There's some fill-ins for that. And then in the idea of invest, then you'll see some very basic fill-ins here, investing by serving and giving and so forth. Let's look at the very first section, God's investment in you. Every person is uniquely made, and God places within every person certain abilities, giftings, and as a believer, spiritual gifts. So we'll take some principles from Psalm 139 about the incredible fact that God made us unique and complex, but He also designed us for a purpose. So you want to get right into that, share that information, and then right into the personality style. And I would say that this is different than any personality survey you've used before, because I wrote it particularly for our church, High Rock, and I came up with the word aid. And those 4 things relate to the lion, otter, golden retriever, and beaver. And so just think about that. But you want to get familiar with this AIDE, achiever, the leader type, imaginative. It's more like the otter, playful, inspirational. The detailed person, who's better maybe with things than with people, and very focused and very specific. And they want to get things done right. And then the enduring personality, much like the golden retriever, imagery that we've used in the past. So there's a basic 16 questions that have 4 different values. And so each one of these questions, we want you to put a number. So the one that you're most like, you put a 4 next to it. And then the one that you're next most like, put a 3. And then the one that you're least like, put a 1. And then the remaining one would obviously be number 2. And we do that so that we can get the most and then the least, most, second most, least, and then the second in the middle. Helps people just to kind of figure that out a little bit better. So we'd like this ideally to be done before the class. If someone shows up and they haven't already done all this and calculated it, it's okay. They can do it after the class and then go back and see the information. Because there are several pages of information concerning each personality style, once they've identified their style, you may wish to just have them go and read about their style. And then maybe if they're married or engaged, maybe they could also take time then to read their spouse's style and compare them. You can, depending on how much time you think you have, you could go through this, but it'd be very lengthy. But there's some really good information on the personalities as far as working in teams, how to talk to someone of that personality style, what to say and what not to say. So I would encourage you as a facilitator to read all of them and be highly familiar with those so that you can help people in their particular personality styles as they begin to understand what this means. This may be brand new for some people. They may have never even seen this sort of thing before. So take time to do it. You'll see the very end of the personality style that we see that there are broken into 2 major categories. On the top of the A chart are the high energy people. Those are the A and I personalities. They're high energy. They want to see things done. They get it going. On the bottom side of that chart, the low energy people are the D and E. These are people that just kind of walk their way through it. They're not maybe have a big skip in their step, but they're moving forward. And then there's another divide right down the middle. The A and D personalities are more task oriented. They want to do things. They want to write things and get it done. Whereas the I and E personalities are more people oriented. So that's just really important information as you're working with volunteers and also being placed in the right ministry. And then you'll look on in the next section under strengths. There's some general categories for strengths here. And we'll refer back to this later in another section. So walk them through that and have them list their particular motivational direction. These are the big things that they might enjoy or have gifts in. Then the spiritual gifts, you're going to look at that. Hopefully they'll have completed the spiritual gift inventory before the class and brought that to class so you can help them identify their particular primary and secondary spiritual gifts. As you walk through, excuse me, the definition of spiritual gifts, identify the people. Ask them, how many here have the gift of prophecy? How many have the gift of service? Identify those people as you walk through. And then I would say spend more of your time on the problem areas for those giftings. They need to see that, and most of them will say, yeah, that's me, my gifting, that's my problem. The next area is the investment that we have in others. And this is where we're going to talk about beginning to use what God has given us to help other people. And so follow your notes there, but just generally speaking, we want to hit life groups and ministry in this section. And so we'll hit that pretty hard, talk to people about being involved with one. If they're not, we can direct them to Mike Hillard and help them to get connected to a group that suits them. So you want to walk them through. When we get to the ministry section, we'll talk about the areas of ministry and the myths of ministry. You know, a lot of times people think that there's nothing they can do to serve. But the fact is that all of us have abilities and we all have a calling to serve and minister. And when we take the posture that I'm serving someone else, but in reality I'm serving God, it really helps motivate us and it changes how we minister. And so we'll minister to people's physical needs, their emotional needs, and spiritual needs. And in there we'll cover the purpose of ministry. If you've done the 301 class before, you know there are 5 areas, and one of them is experiences. We're not going to dig down as deep in this course, but we do hit on those things, and we want people to understand that whatever they've experienced in life, it is part of who they are. And often out of those experiences, God will bring ministry and opportunities to serve others. So you want to hit on that, particularly people's painful experiences. Because we always say God never wastes a hurt. So take a moment to explore those, because you can use that to help people understand that oftentimes their ministry will be born out of the painful experiences they've had. And then there's an opportunity there to just to walk them through the different teams that High Rock has and to help them get connected, at least see where they could be connected. The final section is your investment in God's work. And this is where we're going to talk about giving and going. And we have a big push for people to really be part of this global campaign that we have of starting new campuses. And so we want people to understand when they give to others, whether they're poor or rich, doesn't matter. When you give to the poor, the Bible says you're lending to God and God will repay you. So there's a reward. And in reality, you're giving to yourself. God's going to bring blessing back to you. So we hit tithing very strongly. Great information in here, teaching. And then we're going to challenge people that are new to the ministry and anybody with a God's guarantee card. This is a 90-day money-back guarantee. So as people come through our courses, when they get to invest, we want to challenge them to make a 90-day commitment to tithe, to give 10% of what they earn back to God, and fill out a card. And if they're not completely satisfied that God has met their needs based on Malachi 3, 9, and 10, then we just say, hey, we'll give your money back to you over that 3-month period. And if that's what you feel, God hasn't, it's a money-back guarantee. And God does say, test him and prove him in this. And so we challenge you to do that, make a big plea for that, for people to understand this and get the blessing that God is offering to them through their tithing. And then we talk about gifts and offering for mature believers, that they learn how to give above a tithe. And we truly believe that we can't outgive God. So we want to teach that. And then finally, we go into a section on our mission. You know, God's asked us to start 100 campuses in the next season of ministry. And I believe we'll be able to do that as we follow him. So people can go as we start new campuses, part of the core teams and launch teams, but also everyone can send by committing to support those that are going, by taking up leadership roles in the current campuses and supporting financially. And then you can share with them this year's mission of planting Harrisburg, Mooresville, and Myrtle Beach. And then hit the conclusion about challenging them to really take what they've learned and incorporate it into their ministry search if they're not already serving, or take the information, and this could have profound effects on their career, their marriage, and certainly their ministry in the church. And then the course reflection page, you want them to take some time to fill that out and be available to answer questions that they might have. And it would be really good for them to fill that out and also to have them sign it and give that back to you, or make a copy of it that you could keep so that you can refer back to that as you help place people in ministry. All right, I hope that you will take time to look over the material well. The court free work will be sent out, and hopefully they'll have that in time. We are kind of behind the ball a little bit here, so many of them may need to do their pre-work after the course, and that's no problem. They can do that. I'm praying for you as you facilitate, as we raise up an army of people that are investing in God's kingdom. Thank you for your work in facilitating this course. I know it's going to be awesome. I'm praying for you. Thanks.